It was supposed to be a romantic getaway, a weekend escape in a charming Airbnb nestled in a quiet town. Emily and Mark arrived with smiles on their faces, eager to unwind and enjoy each other's company. But from the moment they stepped into the old Victorian house, a sense of unease settled over them. The host led them through the creaking corridors to the basement apartment they had rented. The walls were adorned with faded wallpaper, and the air was heavy with the scent of age. As they settled in, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Night fell, casting long shadows that danced across the basement walls. Emily and Mark huddled close on the couch, a sense of unease growing with every passing hour. The wind outside howled, the sound a haunting echo in the silence. "I don't like this place," Emily whispered, her voice quivering. Mark tried to reassure her, but even he couldn't deny the strange atmosphere that had settled over them. They decided to go to bed early, hoping that sleep would ease their unease. As they lay in bed, the darkness seemed to press in on them. Every creak and whisper amplified their fears. Emily clung to Mark, her fingers digging into his arm. "Did you hear that?" she murmured. Mark strained his ears, the silence oppressive, and then he heard it, a soft, distant whisper that sent a shiver down his spine. He tried to dismiss it as his imagination, but the feeling of being watched was impossible to ignore. The night wore on, the hours ticking by in agonizing slowness. Suddenly, a chill swept over the room, the temperature dropping inexplicably. Emily's breath formed frosty clouds in the air, and Mark's heart pounded in his chest. And then, they saw it, a flicker of movement at the edge of their vision. A shadowy figure stood in the corner of the room, its form shifting and amorphous. Terror gripped them as they realized they were not alone. The figure seemed to feed off their fear, growing larger and more menacing with every passing second. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, fixated on Emily and Mark with an intensity that paralyzed them. "No," Mark whispered, his voice trembling. Emily clutched his arm, tears streaming down her face. "We need to get out of here." They scrambled out of bed, their hearts pounding as they made a desperate dash for the basement door. But it was locked, the handle refusing to budge. Panic surged within them as they pounded on the door, their pleas for help echoing in the stillness. The shadowy figure drew closer, its presence suffocating. Emily and Mark turned to face it, their breath hitching in their throats. The figure's voice whispered in their minds, a chilling promise of their impending doom. As the figure loomed over them, their fear became a tangible force, a malevolent energy that consumed them. Emily and Mark clung to each other, their screams mingling with the howling wind outside. And then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the figure vanished. The room was empty once more, the air still and heavy. Emily and Mark were left shaken and trembling, the terror of their encounter etched into their very souls. In the days that followed, the couple's bodies were discovered in the basement of the Airbnb, their faces frozen in expressions of pure terror, their hearts having failed them under the weight of their fear. The town whispered of an evil presence that had stalked the old Victorian house for years, an entity that fed off the terror of its victims until their very souls were drained. The Airbnb remained vacant, its basement a place of darkness and dread. The townspeople spoke of it only in hushed tones, a haunting reminder of the evil that had claimed the lives of Emily and Mark. And as the wind howled through the corridors of the old house, the shadowy figure lingered, waiting for its next victims to enter its abyss of terror